Testing 1, 2, 3.
Good afternoon, Chuck. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah.
Glad I get to sit down with you and talk again and about.
Ditto. Same here.
Speaking of things to talk about, we did have a prompt this week. I think we'll be talking a lot about,
I like prompts. They help me to collect my thoughts.
How one might handle the new year or a new year.
Right.
So, some self-reflection might be nice. What are some admittedly bad resolutions you've taken?
Can I just preamble this a bit?
Oh, sure. You go for it.
So like Meg and I stayed home New Year's and we do get invited to parties. And I made the comment to her, and it's true. It's like the New Year's Eve is just like my least favorite holiday of,
really?
It's just, it's something I never really got. It just seemed like the most forced excuse for people just to get aggressively drunk and put on hats and, do stupid stuff. It didn't really have a purpose just because, the calendar's turning over. And I know that is probably something that should be acknowledged in some way, but yeah, I never really got it. I never really felt the urge starting in my 40s to do anything other than stay home and be in bed by 9. So that is, of course, what we did. And it was great. This whole watching the ball drop and all the stuff you were so excited about when you were a kid, it's just completely meaningless to me. And I don't want to rain on anyone else's parade, but ho-hum. Did you do anything to observe?
Oh, yeah. So,
tell me about it.
First and foremost, as a DJ, New Year's is a big
right?
day.
It's a party night.
It is a big, as you specified, it is a big party night specifically. So, me and my friends and such, we were a busy little group. Did you just mix that with your pen?
That's what pens are for. Yeah, it's like I put boiled apple cider and lemon juice in a shot of wild turkey. I'm not sure I like it or not.
All right, well, so yeah, New Year's is a big party night. So DJs usually have a lot to do that day, and I did. We my friends hosted, and they usually host pretty big house parties, and me and some others played at that. I went venue-less this year. I've played at venues in some previous years, and it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
I remember that.
So, those, a concert for New Year's is, I think it is essentially a slightly leveled up experience. People are just a little bit more energetic. They are ready to ring in the new year. I think on a good note is maybe what they're aiming for. Start it off in a place that they're really excited for, even by the minute. But I think some of the traditions and stuff we had, and this is probably going to upset some people, but I think I just think a lot of stuff is lame. I think the ball drop's really lame. I think it's not exciting. I think it's old feeling, and it doesn't get me going. It doesn't make me jump out of my seat and get excited. It's
when I'm 8 years old, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm 8, but I'm 66. It's just It's just, the ball comes down, you turn the page on the calendar. It's just not a big deal. But I do, Christmas is a family-ish holiday and religious, and Thanksgiving certainly, if you have a family. Halloween has its own thing, has its own reason to exist, which is, fun. And New Year's is just okay, it's New Year's, let's party. But yeah, when I was younger, sure, for sure, absolutely. It was a perfectly appropriate time to go out and do crazy stuff, and hopefully survive. But now it's just, let's get quiet.
When I was really young, I was supremely disappointed to find out that the ball didn't break. They didn't literally drop the ball. They didn't take this cool glass ornament thing and make a break or a display or anything out of it. They just moved it down this railing. And I was like, meh, well, that's all right.
I don't know if you remember it, and I don't know how Times Square became ground zero for New Year's in the United States, but it was pretty, again, consistent with why I think this is sort of a crap holiday. It was a bunch of drunk guys who had this ball that was made out of pieces of wood. It was slapped together, and it had a bunch of outlets in there, and they screwed in bulbs. These were just like light bulbs that you would buy at the store, the same light bulbs you had in your house, and it was on a rope. They lowered it down on a rope. There were no computers. There was no one in touch with, the atomic clock in England to know exactly, when it was at the stroke of midnight. There were a bunch of drunk guys just lowering a ball when someone told them to. It was ridiculous. And like millions of people are watching this on television. It's bizarre. I do have my brother Matt once was in Times Square. I think the statute of limitations has passed, but I never went to Times Square all the times I lived in New York.
Really?
Nah. It was just a mob scene, people drunk, people throwing up all over the place, whatever. And but he went with some friends of his, and they the cops would block off traffic, and they had these big sawhorses, these big blue NYPD sawhorses. So they when the cops weren't paying attention, they just picked some of them up and just kind of moved them around.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
to totally redirected traffic, which I thought was cool.
You see that almost every year, like every big parade. Someone wants to get through. They move it. They don't put it back in place, and then
I'm driving here.
So what are some,
all right, so
some bad resolutions?
It was a good party, though.
Oh yeah, we had a great party.
Good, excellent. So I was thinking about bad resolutions, and I don't think I've ever made any, because I never really bought into the whole thing of making resolutions. I would see like some of my behaviors sort of like, I have certain. You would aspire to like do the things that everyone else does. Like I'm going to go to the Y. I'm going to get there, every day. I'm going to get there in this January 2, January 3, January 4. Mm-hmm. I see that sort of behavior coming up each year. But actual resolutions, I don't know. I think I read too much about how they don't really work. And if you're going to use the occasion of a calendar change to prompt some revision of bad habits, then, it's going to take more than that. You're going to need to turn some other dials as well.
Yeah. The exercise more is like I think the pristine example.
It's the typical.
Yeah.
Right?
No one sticks with it. If you're motivated enough to go on the 1st of January, what difference is the 12th of December or whenever you thought of it, or the week before, whatever, what there to me it's like
it's a great excuse, Keegan. Anything that's gonna motivate people to recognize, take stock, and say, yeah, I could improve in this area, and then go out and take action and do it. I'm all for it, but it just seems you read too much about how if that's how you try to get it done, it's just not going to be effective. The only time I was ever able to like do a major thing, like give up tobacco, right? So I smoked, and Meg smoked, and then Meg got pregnant with Madeline, and she said we had to stop smoking, and I totally agreed. Mm-hmm. But it was tied to that sort of a change. It wasn't so much a reason as part of a larger change in the way our lives were going to be lived from that point forward. So it was almost easy to do. It wasn't like I had a really, really good reason. It was just like I was changing all this other stuff, right? We had to prepare ourselves for the arrival of this child, and we were going to be parents. And for some reason, it just, it's easier to make 2 or 3 changes at a time, I think, than it is to just make one. So yeah, that was, we painted the whole inside of the house, and we changed up some of our habits, and, Madeline came, and we stopped smoking.
I didn't know you
And it
guys were
worked.
smokers.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. No, I was an idiot. I was like, I didn't smoke. I had a girlfriend in high school who smoked. My dad smoked. I thought smoking was stupid because it is. And even though I had a high school girlfriend who smoked, her parents smoked. You know, she would smoke when we were out together. And then I went to college and I started hanging out with like the only group of people in college who smoked in the early 80s because it was stupid.
Yeah.
And I started, you know, to smoke because they were all there smoking. It was ridiculous. I started smoking basically as an adult, so there's no excuse.
Oh.
I think that probably did make it easier for me to stop at some point since it wasn't an addiction that, like, you know, went back
Years and years
during those chapters when, you know, when my brain was still being formed, you know, and those roots are being, you know, forged or so it did make it somewhat easier to walk away from it. But yeah, it was inane to start smoking as an adult. It's just ridiculous.
The cigarette in my friend group, and I guess maybe even to say amongst like particularly young people, is like the cigarette is like one of the most romanticized fixations, you know, or activities, you know,
Absolutely.
and not even necessarily smoking it, but even just having them on you, or like having one in your fingers, lit or not. It's like this really romanticized vision and image, but no one that I really know smokes anymore. They vape. Some of them vape,
Good.
but
That's good. Yeah.
it seems like cigarettes at least amongst my sphere have, you know.
Well, you've got to be a rich person to afford it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
insane.
A carton of cigarettes has got to be what, $200 on average, something like that now?
Like one cigarette costs like $1. It's ridiculous. Like, why would you pay $1 to smoke a cigarette? It's like, you wouldn't.
Yeah. One of my jobs was at a gas station, and there be people came in to buy cartons, and cartons were like 140, 160, $200. And I was like, whoa.
I feel for those people. I feel for those people who developed those addictions when cigarettes were, you know, actually somewhat affordable. It was an affordable addiction. And, you know, and you know, that, right, there are a lot of people who are in 12-step, you know, programs, and they're, you know, recovering from alcohol or drugs. And they'll smoke and they'll drink coffee, and that's their vice. But now it's like, damn, it's like those people, you know, if I had to smoke in order to be sober, I would certainly do that. And then for the price of that to go like way, 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 way up, it's just, you know, it seems unfair. It is a horrible habit, incredibly unhealthy. But yeah, but I do feel bad for those people who have probably been like addicted to tobacco since they were teenagers. Stinks.
So, you know,
But-
without resolution really, or you know, or having made many resolutions in your life, you know, or at least New Year's resolutions, I should say more specifically. What are maybe some opinions or topics that you softened on or maybe hardened on this year? What changed about you? What did it feel like?
You know, I think the most honest answer to that is that I do sort of feel that we're all obligated to kind of, you know, become more and more self-aware as we are able without suffering too much pain, and then to act upon that to the extent that we identify deficiencies or areas for improvement. And I think I just sort of view that. I can't say that it's a daily habit. Like, I don't sit down and say, oh, how am I going to improve today? Or what things am I going to do to improve the state of the world or myself, or make myself more useful to humanity? I don't do that. But it is sort of more of a constant theme as opposed to, you know, something that's driven by a specific event on the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think that is sort of a, you know, it's something I try to be aware of and something I try to, uh, take steps toward. But, I'm an incredibly lazy person, I have noticed, capable of like great bursts of being
Productive.
productive and producing and getting shit done. But my natural default state is complete state of indolence and torpor. And that's
Good word. All right.
and I feel, and I can feel sort of bad about that while I'm also enjoying it to the fullest. It's just
Sure.
like, this is so great.
Yeah.
This is so great. So yeah, I don't, I don't, I think I'm doing enough now to, not be completely selfish, jackass. But at the same time, if it's 11:30 and I haven't been through all of my emails and I can, have a sandwich and put a cat on my lap and go watch season 4 of The Avengers with John Steed and Mrs. Peel and fall asleep on the sofa, I'll actually feel really, really good about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will enjoy that. I will enjoy that experience. And I guess in a sense feel like I've earned it. And, Keegan, part of what I think, this is sort of weird because I think it's important to be aware of your own life, sort of, you be a person who pays attention to your own life and to sort of acknowledge it, even if you're the only person that's doing it, even if it's an audience of yourself, right? You sort of have to every once in a while look around and say, this is pretty good. Coffee tastes good. Food is delicious. I have family that I care about. I have relationships with people that are meaningful. And at the same time, when I don't feel like, talking to anybody or improving the state of humanity or, reviewing the last draft of the strategic plan for the homeless shelter, I can take the cat upstairs with a sandwich and turn on season 4 of The Avengers and watch, episode 7 over again. And, it's ridiculous. This is culture that, the older I get, Keegan, the more I'm like, I can't believe you waste your time watching this stuff, Chuck. And yet it just makes me so undeniably happy, even though I know like in 100 years, no one's going to be watching The Avengers, this like tiny English show. No one's going to be watching Drum Corps, I don't think. But it doesn't matter. It worked for me. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. It gives me joy and it makes me appreciate life.
I have a similar wrestling with like critiquing myself in an enjoying state. Like I'll be playing a game, hanging out with my friends online, playing a game or something, or we'll be doing DJing with friends or something, and I'm just like you could be writing right now, or you could be working on your 3D printing or whatever. And
that's like, right.
It's something that I really, really struggle with. And in fact, the way that I've described it as I lose a lot of presence. So you and me are having this conversation.
You get distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get distracted and then you get into your own head.
Yeah.
And then you're not living your life. You're living a different version of your life where you're preoccupied with something else. And I don't know, is that any less valid? I honestly don't know. It's not as much fun.
It's not as much fun. I think you don't enjoy things. Like I find that I don't enjoy that presence as much. So like you and I are having this conversation and then,
right.
Say, we're on like a movie set. Instead of being in the chair across from you talking, I'm behind the camera. In fact, I'm not even just behind the camera. I'm behind the director's chair. I'm in the audience. And I'm even at home on TV watching it too. Like I really separate myself because I become really worried about like
So this is you watching yourself?
Yeah, I get that way where like I become so far from being present because I'm like, you're not doing what you quote unquote should, or like what the most efficient like life action at this very minute is. I got the day off today. I used the rest of my PTO because we don't get it when the year rolls over. And I was just hanging out this morning, playing some games and getting a 3D print going. And I critiqued myself for a while, and I was like, you like deserve a Friday off, dude. You just work. Like this week I had 2 DJ gigs. We had to work like crazy for end of the year wrap up stuff at work. And I was like, ready to take a load off. Then I'm sitting here trying to take a load off and I can't, I can't enjoy it. So, presence is something that I've always, and I'm constantly trying to work on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, well, there's a lot there in what you just said. It's, we're always, as we're living our lives, we're sort of keeping score at the same time. And that's not always wrong. There's a question of balance, and even the question of balance, it's not like there's a right balance. It's like you got to decide. You really have to decide. This is where the French, I think, had it right. Like you have to decide what your life is about. And then that's the life you live or not, but it's up to you. So, but it's weird. It's totally weird. So if you decide that you don't want to feel that way, if you don't want to feel that anxiety, there are tools you can do. You can come up with a plan. I think plans are great. This is why organizations come up with plans, because, it gets everyone on the same page, and it gets people. It limits the opportunity for people to say when they're in the middle of executing the plan, "Gee, is this worthwhile? Mm-hmm. Is this a good idea?" And there's a value in that in terms of just making you feel like you're doing something worthwhile. And it might be the only reason that you think that is because you decided, a month ago, that this is what you were going to do. And that's fine. Just like, so if you can, if you want to come up with a plan for the day, I like to make lists. And then it's like, if I have 6 things on the list and I do 3 of them, I'm like, that's a good day. Even if it's not, it's just like, that's a good day. That's what I'm going to do. You can do it for the week. You can do it for a year. You can do it for a month. Mm-hmm. And it's just a tool. It doesn't, it's not something you have to do, if that makes sense. It's just a tool. But yeah, I mean, what does Socrates say? The unexamined life. So he was saying if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, your life doesn't mean anything. And that's not exactly what he meant, but it's kind of what he meant. He says, you need to be aware. You need to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's your life. And people who lack self-awareness are deficient in some way. Mm-hmm. And that's a value judgment on his part. And, whether you agree with him or not, I don't know. But related to that, and I think you kind of alluded to that as well, is the idea of, when am I living my life and when am I observing myself living my life? When am I recording my life? And, getting back to Socrates, do I have to be recording it, acknowledging it, observing it in some way as it's happening in order for it to be meaningful? And the answer to me feels like, yeah, to a certain extent, but that's sort of the opposite of, people saying you got to be in the moment, or people living in the moment. And that has value, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Those times when you were totally in the moment and you weren't, you sort of paused the reflective part until later. Mm-hmm. And then you came back and you sort of unpacked it all. Yeah, that's great. That's powerful.
Yeah. The I think it's a lot of pressure that people put on themselves. I think like free time and quality time are two very different entities. And if you spend your free time, even neutral or slightly not the best that it could be, my friends and myself have danced in this difficult space where if our free time doesn't feel like quality time or quality free time, then it's like wasted. And it's a mentality that I like gotta drop, because it is perfectly fine to lay down on the couch after, even after nothing, even if you've done nothing, you don't have to earn rest. I think rest is allowed, and enjoyment is allowed without earning it either. It usually feels a little bit better, or we can argue that it feels better sometimes when you have done a lot of work, but I find
there's value in that, right? There's
Oh,
value in that. In that it doesn't matter what I've done, or even in just embracing the idea that I'm not obligating myself to accomplish anything other than just sort of, being alive at this moment and seeing what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be television and brownies. It could be anything.
Yeah.
I do think if you live your whole life that way, you're probably not going to be happy. But I'm not going to tell you that somehow, your life matters less than some other person who, got up and ran 10 miles every day until they dropped dead at 90.
Yeah.
From eating ice cream that gave them a brain freeze or something. I have no idea.
Something small. Maybe it's because I'm young, youngish. I'm going to be 28 soon, but I still haven't considered the whole timeline yet, or the whole the wholeness of my life yet.
Right.
And I've been saying to some of the older people around me, like I think I am feeling things kind of speed up. Everyone talks about it starts to go by quick, it flies by, and I swear that's kind of the case. I feel a little fast forward press, just a tiny bit, I don't know what it is or what it looks like or what it's going to mean, but I have friends who are in their late 30s and such. They're approaching their statistically midlife.
Right? Are they okay? Or some of them are, some of them aren't?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. I would say it that way for sure. There are some who I would put at a maturity level that's probably lower than, someone in their mid 20s or even lower than that. And there are some that are very financially irresponsible. And knowing friends and such and like that, it hurts to watch. But at the same time, I also try to put I don't want to pressure them or like compare myself to them, because it's not fair. No one's circumstances are the same. And for me to like look at someone who's in their 30s and be like, oh, you're way behind. Like what not only what is behind, what's on track. There are common, markers of, maybe you have a home, maybe you have a family, but that's not in everyone's interest anymore. Not
well, no, and the goal lines keep changing, right? I mean, and they change quickly. I mean, we live in this is one of my dead horses that I keep beating, but we live in a time of such rapid technological change that's then flowing through the economy, the job market, everything, that it's almost hard to know what to do next. I keep saying I'm glad that I'm retired and I don't have to think about that stuff anymore. I feel for my kids. I feel for people your age. I got to tell you, I feel even worse for kids in high school.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to tell. I'm not going to tell them anything, but I feel for their parents. People are like, is it worth spending $1 gazillion to send Junior to, East Armpit state to get a
It's
degree
state school
in
now.
whatever. And, and the answer is, who the fuck knows?
Yeah. Is it worth it for you? Is it worth a new situation?
I think in terms of, I got a couple thoughts.
Sure.
One is, I think if you're with your friends, you're allowed to like shoot from the hip and risk being wrong. I mean, that's kind of what friends are for, right? You can always apologize later. You can always change your mind. You can always say, hey, jackass. It's like, you're fucking up here. Like, how could you, you need to get off your ass, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You don't have to, sit in a dark room and figure out what the Buddha has advised about what the perfect life is, mm-hmm. and then advise your friends accordingly. I mean, you can just like react. We're all here to react to each other. And as long as it's coming out of a place of goodwill and is authentic and is based in love, it's all worthwhile. You don't have to be right.
I take that lesson to heart. Being right about that's what I
don't have to be right.
That's what I need.
Just as long as you know that there's a good chance you're not right, then feel free to express an opinion and say, I could be wrong. You don't want to be mean. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but that doesn't mean you can't speak the truth to your friends as you see it. That's kind of your job. Mm-hmm. Again, you could be wrong, but that is kind of part of your job. But I was, I don't know how my life would have ended up if I hadn't sort of had these obvious, preordained, opportunities that just became available mm-hmm. at each stage, right? I went to high school and I did good, and then I got into a good school and I went there, and then I got this, the next job because my friends were going to New York, and then that was that, and then it was like law school, and that was an option. And then after that, it was sort of like my career was laid out mm-hmm. in front of me. I didn't have to agonize about it. I didn't have to think about what I was going to be or what I was going to do. If I had been, that reflective, I would have been very anxious, I think, at that time. Mm-hmm. I was just it was good for me that I had something to do. It was good for me that I could, do these things, and then people would say, oh, that's really good. You did a good thing. How about this other thing? And then I would do the other thing, and people say, hey, that's really good. How about this other thing? And I'm like, okay, I'll do that other thing.
Sure.
And just keep doing that. And then that ends up being a life. And that was fine. And it gave me all these opportunities, and, I don't have to worry about, how I'm going to eat tomorrow. So I'm grateful for that, but I know that that's not life for most people. There's a lot more uncertainty. There are a lot more difficult decisions, I think, that people have to make. And it's hard. Keegan, the one thing I keep coming back to, and I think this is, talk about politics, but it's like, as long as you figure out a way not to, to sort of be responsible for yourself and to not be harmful to others, everything else is just gravy. Mm-hmm. Whatever you do is it's just gravy. You're adding, you're bringing an appetizer to the table of life. You're plopping it on there, and that's what it is. And some people are going to like it, some people aren't. And that's, as long as you're not the guy that, is always, being mean to people or not looking out for your friends, or then you're fine. It's just, it's, I don't know. There's a lot to be said for just, having a place to live, mm-hmm. having gainful employment, and then whatever happens next is what happens next.
You
know what? And dude, that's the way people live their lives for like millennia.
Yeah.
99.9% of people lived their lives since the beginning of fucking time, right? It was just, they weren't, right? Who are the people that were scratching their heads saying, well, should I pursue pleasure? Or
that was the Greeks, wasn't it?
Form of good. Yeah, but it was the rich Greeks. It wasn't the poor people who were like, would you like more wine, Socrates? Those guys weren't like, those guys were worried about making sure they had something for themselves and their families to eat and a place to sleep. And that's enough. Yeah. If you do that, that's a successful life. It is.
So, we mentioned like additives, do life, in the simplest positive fashion. Don't be an asshole, don't attack people, don't commit crime and such, but
do no harm.
Do no harm. Do no harm.
Don't be a burden. Try not to be a burden, right? Try to make your own way. Try to support yourself. Try to be self-sufficient so that then you can help others.
I think I would like some subtractions this year. Okay. It's something I've had in my brain for more than just the New Year's resolution, but like I need less noise. I don't even quite know. I definitely get off my phone more. That's a huge one. I think screen time and like obligation to screen time, maybe like, I will, there are times where I'm on a phone call for an hour and a half with someone who needs tech assistance or something like that. And like, I'll be on the phone call and like scrolling through Instagram while I'm describing this issue because it's, we're rounding the same circle. But ADHD doesn't help either, but I get wrapped so quickly into scrolling through reel. Like I doom scroll quick. I shouldn't say doom scroll, but I'm quick to scroll for a few. And a term that I heard recently that has particularly kicked off this observation of mine is like, someone said that scrolling is the new smoking. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I think that's,
I get it. If you're at a party or if you're at a gathering or even a meeting, something like that. And you take your phone out and you're hanging out, sitting in a chair somewhere over by the corner and you're scrolling away. Like you are kind of removed. You are taking this like, this absent break in a way. And I don't think it carries, to talk about smoking as we did earlier, I don't think it carries the same even togetherness that a cigarette break can give you. But I think my generation is becoming pretty aggressive towards scrolling a lot. And I'm glad because I definitely need it as well. I should be more conscious of it because I can tell that's a lot of the noise. And I think like all those comparisons, all those, I should be doing something else. I shouldn't say all, but I think a lot of that comes from that too. Like I see someone who in 30 seconds, a cut together video of them, making some prop sword. And I'm like, oh, I could make a prop sword, but you haven't. And because you haven't achieved the slight goal, you're going to be incapable of it. And unless you start getting at it right now and tackling it, I'm like, that's a lot of pressure to put on something that I don't care about. So I think it's something I got to get away from. And maybe a little less speed. I feel
a little less what?
A little less speed, and not the drug, obviously, but like
go slow.
Yeah. Like literally, I did it recently. I literally went on a Sunday drive, a stroll, a cruise, slow, no objective, nowhere to go. I just went. And it was lovely. And I gotta figure out some more ways to incorporate like leisure and maybe just, solitude and peace.
Slowly, dude. That's what that's for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all phenomenal. So like, a few thoughts. One is it's not your fault that you're like doom scrolling because everyone's doing it. Mm-hmm. And again, Uncle Chuck's tired themes. Technology, right? Mm-hmm. Technology evolves faster than humans. So and you can't even say it's evil. It is, but because the impact is not great. But if people keep eating chips, they're going to feed us more chips. If people respond to McDonald's, food, then they're going to feed us more McDonald's food, and we do that for a reason because it checks a lot of boxes. And the doom scrolling is the same thing. It's junk food. It's smoking. It's watching TV. Dude, I was up, I was going to go to bed. It's like 8 o'clock. Meg was in bed. It's like we'd had a good day. We went for a nice long walk. It's like I dragged her out. Honey went for a nice long walk. It was therapeutic. It was snowing. It was cold. And then it stopped. And then it cleared up and there was a big moon. And then you get home and you feel like you did something. Your brain wiring is different. Your perception of everything that happens for the rest of that day is different because you went on that long walk, and it does reset the brain. It's not a cliche. It changes the way you look at the world. And then I'm sitting there. She goes to bed, and before I know it, it's like 11:30. I'm in YouTube, bro, and I'm just like boom. Boom.
That's how it happens. That's how it happens.
I'm watching things for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, the next one. And then I'm like, dude, you just got to turn it off.
Yeah.
Put it down. And it's like, no, boom, boom, boom. I was addicted. So I think we just have to realize that despite the fact that there is a lot of good content in there that actually could add value to our lives if we took ownership of it and decided, we should be the ones deciding how we want to take advantage of all this content and all this, as opposed to just being, more passive consumers of stuff. Because the algorithm is there, and the algorithm says, I know what you want, Chuck. I know what you want, Keegan. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. And the algorithm is feeding us, and it's not making us better.
I think that's
it is, because we're all doing it and giving us a common, we can all talk about this shit, which is kind of cool if people do. So, and that's cool. There's a common experience that we're all having that we can talk about. We're talking about it now. That's kind of neat.
Oh, certainly.
But at the same time, is it healthy? No. So yeah, if you can, make modest changes, go for that long walk.
Yeah.
Leave your phone at home.
I gotta try that out more frequently.
Dude, it's really cool.
Leave it. I'll take it with me when I walk around the office.
It's hard.
I should just leave it at my desk there, stuff like that.
Dude, I have trouble going upstairs to fold laundry without my phone.
Oh, I'm bad. I listen to YouTube while I fold the laundry.
And I'm like, well, what if Meg tries to call me? Or what if, and it's 20 years ago, you didn't have a phone. Life will go on. They'll get in touch with you eventually. Yeah. Leave the phone there. Go and do something for an hour or 2 hours. And, you run the risk of people saying, where were you? I couldn't reach you. And it's just yeah, whatever. I left my phone. I turned it off. I had the ringer turned off.
I don't think I've turned, my phone's on silent pretty much perpetually, but I don't think I've turned my phone off to get away from it. Essentially, ever. I do that. I don't think I've ever done it, really.
Yeah, I do that when I go to church now, just because, it's more so because it's just I know I have a perfect excuse. Right? And what would it be? I mean, it's bullshit. It's just the president was trying to reach you because, he wanted your insight
Only
into
you have
the
this
situation in Gaza, which is blowing up right now. It's just I'm sorry, I was in church. I left my phone, turned my phone off. Right? Seriously. How stupid is that? Yeah. Oh, no, but it could be something more your mom's sick. She's going to the hospital. Yeah, well, she's 91. She's going to die someday, and maybe, I'm not going to be right there when it happens. I'll be there half an hour later. People talk about going out into nature and taking a bath, a bath outside. in the forest.
Oh,
It's a real thing. Nature's powerful, bro. I don't know if you remember all those walks we used to take on Christmas Day.
oh yeah.
They work.
They
work.
My dad's a big walk guy. He loves a walk, and
Good.
I remember exploring the woods beside your guys' place in Valencia. That like all the homeschool kids would go out there, and to me that was like a wild experience, because when you're in like the city school district and such, or when you're in like a big packed tight suburb, super urban, they're really, you either walk on the street or like you go to a park and walk around it. Well, then that can certainly be nice, don't get me wrong, but nature.
It can be, yeah, but parks are great.
Yeah, I bought a hammock this year. That was like my big outreach to nature, I think, and I've used it a good bit.
Where's the hammock?
It's in my car right now, but it's winter, so
it's not enough room.
It's in my car right now, but there's just trees all around the space, and there's been a few locations that I found that I can set up at. But
so I don't know. Just before we leave that thought, I just have so many strong memories of nothing particular, but the whole idea. It's almost like a cliche. Lying in the grass as a kid, just staring up at the clouds. It works. You just see that there's so much out there that's like your problems are meaningless. So we had a hammock. We had a header for a few years before, the homeschool kids are going to take advantage of that. Someone got horribly injured, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
No, they tried to see how many kids you can fit in it, then it all flips over.
It falls off, breaks an arm.
Squished. No, what actually happened is we had the tornado, and it knocked down one of the trees that the hammock was attached to, so we couldn't do the hammock anymore. But, yeah, you lie in a hammock, put your arms behind your head and stare up through the trees, look at the leaves, look at the blue sky, look at the clouds if you have them. You'll just see so much shit just from staring at that. A bird might go by and it's like, there's a bird. It can take you out of your brain. It can take you out of yourself. It's not a cliche. It's like it's a real thing. It can take you out of yourself, and then, maybe you fall asleep and you wake up and you're refreshed. Refreshment means it's meaningful. It's a break. It's a pause. You're rewiring those short-term circuits in your brain for good reason, and then you're ready to do the next thing.
Whatever it is. Pretty much all of my creative work is digital. I'll make animations in a 3D engine. I make games. I write, on my laptop. I write in like a Google Doc. All my music is made in a digital audio workspace. But I really do find a ton of inspiration in nature. EDM has every melody. Music has hit practically every melody that could ever exist at this point. However, when I go out and I hear some birds going back and forth, you're like, that is a unique sound interaction I haven't heard. And then I take that little pattern, I beatbox it in my head a few times. When I go back and sit down at my desk and start creating, I'm like, oh yeah, those birds were there and they went today. And now that's going to be like a fun lead for me to chase while I write something. Or I'll go out there and listen to a windy day or a rainy day. And I love layers of ambience. I love like immersing myself in sound. So I'll get back in here and recreate that rolling thunderstorm and breezy and leaves and chimes going off and stuff. I love wind chimes. Oh, I don't think I've ever mentioned that. I haven't mentioned that to very many people. I love wind chimes, and I should get some for my little hammock space because I could listen to those all day.
You should, but be careful. Wind chimes were like they didn't exist, and then they were everywhere to the point where they became a cliche. And then for people like me, it was like it changed the nature of the experience because of the prevalence. So it was like, those are those stupid wind chimes on so-and-so's porch. it's stupid, and it's all in me, right? It's all in my head. But it was like, oh my God, there were so many wind chimes. But I think I made chimes once out of found objects on the farm. I don't know do you remember that? They were huge. I found these old pipes.
Where'd you have it like mounted when you made it?
Hey, dude, it was right next to the hammock. So this is totally.
I don't remember the hammock at all.
No, the thing was like I'm not a very good craftsman, so the thing lasted maybe a few months, and then it completely disintegrated. But I found these pieces of wood, and I hung these like pipes that I found, and something in the middle for like the wind to blow to like knock into them, and they were huge. One of them was like 8 to 10. It was like boom,
wow,
boom,
oh yeah,
like boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm. Not like this little tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. It was cool. It was fun.
I love resonant sounds, and a lot of bells hit that space. I had a friend who had a hot tub, and their backyard had like a bunch of wind chimes scattered throughout a relatively large property. But whoever their dad really, really like loved their backyard.
Right.
And I think
he's a sound artist.
Yeah, I think he really did like subconsciously, or maybe even on purpose, but like shaped that sound space incredibly. And as someone who, when you work in music and when you produce and engineer music, those moments like get you.
Yeah,
they really.
If you can craft a space where you have like chimes that are like at the far corner of the field that you can barely hear, and then some like 90 degrees that way over by the barn, and then some a little bit closer, and some of them are deep and some of them are not. Just like those soundscapes would be really cool. Plus, you move them around and you can they complement what the wind is doing. So if you've got trees, it's like you can actually hear wind, like moving through a field. When we lived on the farm, it would because you could hear the grass rustling over here, and then it would hit the trees, and then it would move off. These like waves coming through, and if you could just sort of add these little touches here with chimes at various spaces around that soundscape, that would be totally cool.
I don't know if we've talked about it on here before, but I have synesthesia. And that,
we talked. We talked a lot about synesthesia. I was complaining because I don't have it.
Synesthesia. To even further immerse yourself in a well designed sound space like that, I have audio to visual for anyone who hasn't heard before. But when I hear, I see things that I hear, and there are some environments and some ambience that just really hit it for me. And that's one of them is like busy garden, chimes, rain drums. I know there's a lot of those cliches, a lot of like the over-designed backyard, the gaudy garden. But I think when it's done with intention, with a care, they can be really, really incredible. Another one that I love is that like isolated snow walk. When you have a little bit of crunch, you can't hear the snow landing, but there's like a texture amongst.
You're in a bubble. You're in this little self-contained thing.
Yeah. You're watching it all blow around a little bit. It can be gentle. It can be relatively moderate. And you're able to like be one with your space.
We heard a great sound. Yesterday, really in the snow. We were on our walk and someone had built a little wooden footbridge over like an area of damp. And it was like, 12, 15 feet. It was short. And it was, slats of wood with spaces between them. And it was covered with a light layer of snow. And no one had walked on it. And it was well below zero. So how you walk on that snow and you feel that like crunch? It's got a real it's like so satisfying. And on the bridge, it sounded like a drum. You walked on it, and then the wood would pick up the sound, and then it sort of went down to the ground and it echoed back. Yeah, I had to go back and like walk over it
Oh,
again. It's like,
this
oh,
sounds
that is so
lovely.
cool. Yeah, aren't there people out there who like walk around with like microphones and just record all these found sounds?
It is an art form that I participate in called Foley.
Foley?
Yep. So one
Is that what that means in the movies?
Yeah, Foley
that
artists.
term?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Yep. Those are the people who record like found sound.
Yep. So
I had no idea.
There are people who specialize in it as well. Like walking steps. Period is like the biggest Foley category because you'll see someone walking down a dirt path in a movie, but you hear a lot of crunch and grustle and
crunching, right?
And when you watch the Foley artists, it's like big boots with like a wooden box, a wooden stake attached to the bottom, and they're like stepping on layers of gravel and like attempting to get that right, whatever they're looking for.
Cool.
The Lord of the Rings has a really cool one. There's a scene where there's a giant trebuchet and it fires like a corner of a building. Like this huge chunk is fired out into the works. Return of the King.
Return of the King. Yeah, when they're attacking Minas Tirith. Yep. Yeah.
So to get the noise, Peter Jackson went to like a car scrapyard, and there's a crane. And he asked the crane operator if they would drop like a 5-ton concrete block onto a bunch of pallets. Nice. and they brought tons of pallets and they brought like different materials to put under it. So there was like cloths or different kinds of cloth materials and different like crushings of stone. There was fine stone, there was coarse stuff. And then they buried a mic under the ground and they put mics all around this little drop zone and they just dropped it like 50 times, all different stuff. It's cool. I love Foley. It's so cool.
I can't wait to watch that movie again.
We just watched it a few days ago and I love it.
It's the best.
I would love to be able
to. Mr. Frodo.
Samwise Gamgee is one of my idols as to like positive masculinity and like what it means to be a friend. He's the best.
I don't know if you remember this. It used to be movies, like war movies, like, the guys dying. The Sarge, don't leave. Oh, come on. Brooklyn. And just like, and guys, gives guys an excuse to cry at the movies. But yeah, Return of the King, when they're up before the Eagles show up and they're just like, yeah. And it's just like, oh, Mr. Frodo, Sam, I'm so good at the end of all things. And I'm just like crying like a fucking baby. Every man in that theater's crying. And then later on, when he gets on the fucking elf ship to like sail away, and Sam's like, what? Like, holy
you're leaving me, man?
Rip his heart out. And you're like, what?
It's me.
It's like, you can't even see. And then he's like living his life with Rosie and he's got the kids and you're just looking at it through tears. And it's just like, fuck. Yeah, I love that movie.
I may not be able to carry it, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you. That line gets me
carry you, Mr. Frodo.
Every time I get goosebumps. It makes me want to like get up and save the world.
The great Sean Astin. Yeah.
But rounding back to sound and fun and sound spaces. Maybe sampling or going out and finding more inspiration in different kinds of nature that I haven't like. There's a lot of swamplands and marshlands out by me that I've never gone into and sat around in. And I wouldn't be particularly excited to. There's a lot of bugs and it's probably going to smell weird and
it smell good.
We'll see.
Ooh, it's good ripe smell.
But, maybe discovering appreciations amongst those spaces is, I appreciate learning. Learning about those spaces.
We had a lot of swampland where I grew up and we used to go out with tennis rackets in early spring and look for skunk cabbage.
Skunk cabbage? What's skunk cabbage?
Dude, you got to get out more. Skunk cabbage, it's like one of the first things that like comes up out of the ground in spring. And when you break the leaves, it smells like a skunk, just like nailed you. And we would just go around and just like smash all these skunk cabbages so we could enjoy the smell of skunk.
Yeah, these are.
It was a ritual. It was a rite of spring. it meant that winter was over because the skunk cabbage was in the swamp, and we would jump from hummock to hummock. We'd get all wet, we'd ruin our sneakers. We love the swamp.
Apparently there's a lot of them around me. And I've just like never observed these things. They look scary. They look bizarre. These like red cup things with like a virus looking interior.
No, they're scary looking.
Yeah, they look fun enough.
But it's not, but there's no like, alligators or shit. It's not like you're in Florida. Yeah. And people are going to eat you. You might see some snapping turtles. That would be cool.
I rescued a snapping turtle. I think I rescued one at least earlier this year. There's one in the middle of the road.
Crossing the street. Yeah.
Yeah. Crossing is a strong term. He started and then just gave up.
Depends upon how you define time. Right. No, he hadn't given up. He was just
resting.
He was moving. He's just moving at his pace of life was different than ours.
I picked him up by like the back of his neck shell and then like right by his butt and
his carapace.
Yeah, I grabbed his carapace and I dragged him over to the woods and I set him down and I was like, I hope you don't want
Well done.
Huh?
No, good job. Hopefully he wasn't like thinking about turning around and going.
Yeah, it was like if I made it.
Hopefully he hadn't forgotten his phone. It's like, oh no, I gotta go back and get my phone. It's like, what the fuck? No. Dude, put me down. Put me down.
No, look at that one.
It ruined his day.
I've had, this might be the year I've had the most interaction with like wildlife ever. And I mean specifically like mammals and and animals and such and birds.
Other than like people's pets,
right? Yeah, I've seen many a dog and cat, but like there's a lot of geese out by us. There's eagles out by us. There's a pack of herons and stuff. There's so many cool animals out here.
Herons are cool. Yeah, Meg said she and Nancy saw an eagle when they were driving back from Rochester.
Yeah,
through the refuge, the Montezuma Wildlife Refuge.
So that Montezuma refuge has a giant wooden eagle, and
you're right.
Me and my friends say
a
little like thank you to the giant Montezuma
ritual.
Eagle. Yeah, a little ritual that we have. We ask for clear skies and safe travel, and the eagle pretty much every time is provided. So. We love the wild eagle.
The eagle is connected. The eagle is a noble bird.
See? But yeah, we have some that nest maybe 100 yards from where we live.
Thank God Ben Franklin lost that argument. One of the few arguments he lost.
Turkey. Yeah, get that thing out of here.
Yeah. Turkey. Especially wild turkeys. Just like,
Turkey's a C tier meat and a C tier bird.
Yeah. No, the wild ones aren't just not worth anything. It's big.
I'm not so. See, that's like another piece of tradition that I find funny that like, I think most people would rather wholeheartedly agree that they don't like a lot of the things that we, share and do during the holidays times. A lot of my friends just dislike turkey. I dislike turkey. But everyone's asking.
Have you had my turkey? I don't know.
Maybe.
Here's the thing about turkey. You're right. You don't get up out of bed in the morning and say, turkey.
Right.
It's nothing you like choose to do, but it's like, except people do eat turkey sandwiches and, it's like, there's not that much flavor in them and whatever, turkey breast. But I do like Thanksgiving turkey. I like it a lot. Maybe because part of it is because it's only that one time of the year. I don't do it on Christmas because it's like, no, it's one time of the year. It's turkey time. But even when my mom or my grandmother just, roasted it in the oven, stuffed with gravy and potatoes and that stuffing, it was, I'm tasting it right now. It was divine. Mm-hmm. And then when it was gone, it's like you weren't yearning for more, right? It's like, where's that damn turkey? Yeah. It's not like you go into like a McDonald's and say, give me turkey. Give me a nice.
I would not want any
turkey
McDonald's turkey. No, thank you. No, thank you, bite.
But no, dude, I take all the bones out of the turkey. I stuff it. I roll it up. It's like a tube. It looks like a roast beast from the Grinch, except it doesn't have the little legs on the back. I roast it, and it's moist and delicious, and the skin is just right, and you get the dark meat and the white meat, and you put the gravy on it, and it's a fine meal. And then it's good. Whatever. What is it? Tryptophan, and then you get on the sofa and you rub your tummy. You fall asleep.
Speaking of the Grinch,
don't talk shit about turkey. Yeah, go ahead.
So I watched the Grinch for the first time as an adult this year. And
so tell me what that means when you say you watch the Grinch, because I'm 66. It means something different to me.
So, I'd seen the Grinch as a child on, Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and whatever.
What do you mean by the Grinch?
The one that I know is the Jim Carrey Grinch.
And that's shit. And that's crap. I've never watched it. And so, of course, I'm an expert.
There's that one.
But that's not what the Grinch means to me. The original Grinch was an animated half-hour program from 1968, 69, narrated by Boris Karloff, who did the voice of the Grinch.
Oh, I've seen this.
Where they actually just read the poem.
Yep.
All the dialogue was the poem. And that's what to me is the Grinch. And then they came along and Hollywood made this Jim Carrey abomination where they just tarted it all up.
I think most.
I don't know. Do the kids? Is there a musical even? I mean,
there's
ridiculous.
There's nearly no musical elements other than just standard score in the Grinch. But
anyway, I totally bombed your you were telling me about the Grinch. So what happened?
It's really it's bizarre that it looks good still. It came out in 2000 even. But similar to Gollum in Lord of the Rings, the makeup and visual effects and stuff were done very, very well. So it visually holds up. And something that I never realized with the Who's or the Whoville people or Whovians, whatever, they're like mouse people. I could never put my finger on what they were, but they're like mouse people.
The Who's down in Whoville?
Yeah. They have pointy noses with the little dot in the end. And
I got to cut you off here. It's just Rotten Tomatoes, 50%.
50 even.
IMDb 6.4. And you just use that in the same breath with Lord of the Rings.
Well, I'm talking. Listen, visual effects wise, I come from the production world. I can appreciate well done visual effects.
Okay. All right. Return of the King 94-9. I mean, come on, that's art.
I agree. I was just watching them, but the
Grinch, dude, and I watched season 4 of the Avengers. It's not art. But it resonates with me because I was there on that Sunday afternoon in 1968 when I was 9 years old, and it was before dinner, and football was over, and for some reason they just trotted out this British spy show.
Yeah,
and it just burrowed its way into some part of my brain, and it's going to live there until I'm dead. So yeah, you can have the Grinch if that was because
it's one that I'm all right.
You were exposed to that as a child.
I actually really struggle with holiday movies. I don't have a favorite really, and I kind of just default to telling people I like Elf.
You like Elf?
Elf's. Yeah. It's funny.
I like Elf.
There's actors and stuff that I like a lot. I like Will Ferrell. I like James Caan. I like Zooey Deschanel. I like Jon Favreau. I like Peter Dinklage, Bob Newhart. There's a lot of great, there's a lot of great actors in it, but I find the premise of a Christmas movie to be this tough to cross bridge for some reason. I feel like maybe I have a weird sense of Christmas spirit or don't have a ton of excitement for the season, but when people watch all the Hallmark movies that are on constantly and that's a Christmas Carol or a Christmas Story. To be honest,
those will destroy your soul.
I don't.
Oh, really? A Christmas Story works, and for me, because I don't know, maybe that could be another instance of a moment in time. We were in law school, and someone was getting married, and we bought them a VCR as a wedding present. Right. It was like first generation. And then we went back to the apartment and we watched A Christmas Story, and I thought it was hilarious, and I still do. I don't need to watch it more than once every 25 years at this point.
Yeah,
I've seen it. But yeah, Keegan, I did this thing before, like in early December, where I do this search. It's an increasingly pointless search for worthwhile Christmas movies that I haven't seen. Mm-hmm. And I never find them. And then I go back to sort of watch some of the ones that I really, really think are great. And, because I've watched them so many times, they just don't have the same impact. And that's kind of sad. The experience becomes, it's not the same experience. And that's not good. But like, the movie versions of A Christmas Carol, the Seymour Hicks version, which is from 1935, where the special effects are really crappy because they didn't have any.
Yeah.
And there's one scene where like it's the ghost, like one of the ghosts, like they didn't even try. They just like have a guy off stage, like doing the lines, and he's like talking to himself or talking to the air. And he's just like, okay, well, they tried their best. But the 1950 version with Alastair Sim, I thought was art, but I've seen it so many times now that it doesn't have the same kind of impact. Mm-hmm. But A Christmas Carol was a story that Charles Dickens wrote, in chunks. A period, a few chapters would get published each week leading up to Christmas. And you read it; it's not that great. It's he was churning it out. Yeah. There are times when he doesn't even give Bob Cratchit a name. Like later on, he says, "Oh, I guess I can make him a character." He introduces him at the beginning, and he doesn't just refer to him as his Clark. Mm-hmm. The whole thing about when the ghosts are going to come doesn't make any sense. You could tell he was just figuring this shit out as he wrote. And it was just like how a lot of content gets produced. Why that somehow, landed. When all of his other Christmas stories, and he wrote dozens of them, and they all suck.
I didn't know this at all.
Oh, after that, he like wrote one every year, and the chimes, the Cricket on the Hearth, and they're terrible.
I don't know the Cricket on the Hearth. I've never heard of it.
Oh, they're horrible. No, someone tried to make a cartoon version of the Cricket on the Hearth. Maybe I watched it when I was like 14, but I like the Alastair Sim version. If you read the book, and like Scrooge in the book, he's a trope. He's a cartoon. Mm-hmm. He's not a real person. He's just like, and Alastair Sim plays him as a human being and gives him like a defensible point of view. Mm-hmm. It's just like if Scrooge was a real human being, what would he be like?
Yeah.
And I watched it. And it's like, seriously, you get halfway into the movie and you're on Scrooge's side. You're like, these people are stupid. Cratchit is a fucking idiot. He's lucky to have a job. Yeah. Why is he banging out all these kids? He can't support them. And he's like acting all dumb and happy because he's got a big family. And Scrooge is like, you're a fucking idiot. You can't even can't even feed your children, and you're asking me for the day off? You suck. You're a loser. And he's working hard, and he's doing his shit, and people are saying, oh, Mr. Scrooge, I can't pay you back the money I loan you. He says, like, that's my fucking problem? It's just like, I lend you the money. Like, and you don't want to pay it. Oh, Mr. Scrooge, it's only once a year. And he says, what the fuck does that have to do with it? He's great. He doesn't play him as a cartoon. He just plays him as a real human being.
Yeah.
So that when he does, change, it's just wildly impactful.
Yeah, very evident.
Really great. So yeah, I love that movie, and there are other versions which are okay, but but that's it. I mean, there's all these other, Christmas movies that Hollywood made in the 50s, and most of them just aren't any good. When I was a kid, we used to watch the animated Christmas shows.
Mm-hmm.
Rudolph, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Frosty the Snowman. And I told you this, we would get like the Reader's Digest when it came out at the beginning of the month, and I would sit down with the markers hadn't or highlighters hadn't been invented. You just take a pencil and you would circle, when Charlie Brown's Christmas was going to be on, and you would circle when Santa, because it was only going to be on once, and if you missed it, you were fucked. You weren't going to see it again for a whole year.
God.
They were huge. You saw them once a year, and if you missed it, you didn't see it again. So, now we live in an age where all content is available. Any content ever created is available at any time. It changes the value of it enormously. Back then, it was like, the Wizard of Oz was on once a year. If you missed it, you weren't going to see it again.
Yeah, to listen to other people's stories of it.
Oh, we all would go out the next day. Oh, yo, what are we marching around? It was an event. But anyway, yeah, Christmas movies, Christmas content. As a child, when you're open to all of this stuff, and you can watch something like Frosty the Snowman, and it can land with you, even though you watch it now, and it's just like, this is so stupid. This is ridiculous. The Heat Miser and the Snow Miser. I mean, who thought this shit up? The Year Without a Santa Claus, and we're like, yay, a new Christmas show, and everyone would you'd memorize the songs, and it was great. And now, did I tell you when we were in law school, one of our roommates, Mark Berlin, he had a VCR tape where he had done this thing where he had waited for something to be broadcast, and then he would record it. Mm-hmm. One of these animated Christmas shows on his tape. And then he would wait for the next one, and he would record the next one on the same tape. So it was he had to do it just right. Mm-hmm. And he had them all back to back. This thing was gold.
Oh, I bet.
It was gold. Oh, yeah. He invented this thing. And then later on, you could, 5 years later, you could go to a store and you could buy it, all of these animated Christmas shows. And then, yeah, it was during exams, and everyone was watching Dallas back then. Everyone in the house was watching Dallas, and they were going to miss Dallas because there was something going on. So they took Mark's Christmas tape, and they recorded Dallas over it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they didn't tell him. And then
no.
And then it became time to watch the Christmas tape, we're getting ready to, Dallas. And he pops it in, and it's fucking Dallas. And I thought he was going to kill everyone in the house, and he would have been justified. And they were all laughing at him. And he's like, "Did you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, I couldn't say anything. I just it was.
No.
But what does that mean? Yes, we all want there to be. We all crave this content that we can absorb and reabsorb during this, quote unquote, special time of year that puts us in the mood, that rekindles the spirit of Christmas that maybe we had when we were kids. And yeah, we still search for that. And yeah, for some people watching, How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey is going to do that. For some people, it is going to be those crappy Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
And that's, that's fine. Because I can't pretend that what did it for me when I was a kid, Frosty the Snowman or The Year Without a Santa Claus is high art, because it wasn't. It was manufactured by, Hollywood or whoever to burrow its way into my little brain so that I would be paying attention during the commercials, and then I could, buy Tonka toys or whatever was being advertised.
Yeah. There are, I think I mentioned this to you on the Lost episode, but there's music that I don't really want to hear anymore. And I think there are movies that also kind of reach that space. And I think the biggest offender is Christmas Vacation. It's not that I don't like the movie. I've seen it so many times. that
it just
there's no magic,
No, it's a totally different experience once you watch it the 100th time. You got to be so careful when you love something like that.
Yeah.
And you saturate yourself, and then it's just the meaning is gone.
Yeah.
It's a hollow experience.
I'm watching him pack
that's sad.
4 bags of Old Yeller in the cart. I'm like, I used to laugh at this hard when I was, 4. But I think it's maybe my subconscious is also reaching for with like the Christmas turkey. Like, I just want new or changes to some of the traditional spread, for each holiday. Like, what if we didn't do a barbecue for 4th of July? What if it wasn't Memorial Day weekend at camp? Like, everyone does, or seemingly everybody does, some standard spread of those holidays.
Right.
I want some new experiences, and I think there's a prime space for that in Christmas and Thanksgiving. People really harp on.
All this shit does evolve, right? So there have to be, people like you at the leading edge that are saying, "Hey, how about this?" And right, it was like the British royal family who brought a Christmas tree into Windsor Castle because they were Germans.
Yep.
It wasn't there before. I mean, that wasn't that long ago. It wasn't like baby Jesus was lying in the manger and they had Christmas trees over there that the Magi brought. It was like it's a German thing. It had nothing to do with Christmas or Christianity. It was a pagan thing, and people lost their shit and went nuts, and now we all have Christmas trees. So, yeah, this shit has to evolve, or it doesn't stay fresh.
Right.
And then how much do you keep? Because you can't just change it all overnight. That would be meaningless. Things have to sort of evolve naturally for them to be meaningful. And I do think for something like this, where we are in our lives when we first absorb that experience for the first time, or get exposed to that movie or that show or that food, or, that, I don't know, the experience of watching, Uncle Charlie chug a beer and drink a hot dog, within 10 seconds, and had never having seen that before. And then that becomes the tradition that you yearn for. That's what makes that holiday special somehow. How do you preserve the value of the traditional observances while still leaving room for it to evolve so it stays fresh? And because if it doesn't, it does become meaningless at some point. It just becomes meaningless.
I
agree.
Imagine, way far out prediction that I'm wildly guessing on, but I anticipate that I think Christmas. Actually, I'll even be even broader. I think the holiday season is going to become what it is. It won't be Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. I think it'll literally be referred to as the holiday season period. And I think there's going to be a significantly less focus on gift giving. And I think it's going to be a lot more.
That would be good.
Presents. And no, I don't mean gifts, but being there, being with your people. Though I think those values are what I'm not going to say I feel like I'm missing, but I feel like the conversation, I feel like the overall, and again, broad strokes, people are different. There's nuance, but from what I see and what I observe and what I hear, I think that the focus on Christmas being this big gift bomb where you also spend an amount of time, one gives up vacation and PTO and stuff to do. That's a huge commitment. And over the years, I've seen things become less spectacular, gifts less spectacular. The ability to afford them is, also a difficulty. But to me, Friendsgiving has opened up the door for the quality time to be the significant focus. Everyone brings a little dish and we hang out. The hangout's the real reason. That's
just such a great innovation.
Yeah, I would love it.
To, just a great twist on a holiday that was already there.
we had this idea for a white elephant that maybe subconsciously embodied this, but the white elephant we were going to do is that you couldn't purchase an item or you couldn't give anything away. Yep. You had to obtain it in some way. It had to be free. You couldn't pay for it. You couldn't just give something away that you owned. So that to me was like this interesting change. Like the white elephant has, this, money ceiling. So people consider like, oh, is the value of my gift good in terms of utility to price? Is everyone there going to enjoy it? But like one of the white elephant presents was just a picture of one of our buddies in a frame. And it was like one of the most fought over items because it was a great picture and it was like fun. It was different, People,
so how did it work? You didn't have you didn't have a secret Santa assigned. You weren't assigned to a person. You just show up with a gift, and
we did a secret Santa and a white elephant.
And then what? You throw it in, and how does the white elephant work? Is there like a giant scrum?
So
you just throw the gifts in the middle.
We had like 20 people, and everyone drew a number. And then under the tree was a pile of like 20 presents. So you went in order, and then once everybody went through once, you're allowed to steal and negotiate, so on and so forth. But
I like that. You're like, because there's definitely a pre-existing tradition there that everyone knows and acknowledges, and you're reworking it so that it's not as crass.
Yeah.
And not as, this idea that somehow, and this is a thing, that you had to go out and buy presents for all these people who you thought might be buying presents for you and had to spend real money on them. So I'm into like, if you have kids, spend money on your kids. Mm-hmm. That's great. If you have an SO, spend money on them. But I like to tell Meg, and Meg just gets me clothes and books, and that's great. Mm-hmm. And then she'll get me some like wacky shit for the bar. She'll get me a cocktail shaker and some olives. Oh, and a quart of olive brine, which is my favorite gift, obviously. Yeah. Olive brine. And that's great. But if you sense that the pendulum is sort of swinging back away from
the consumer side,
and I don't know if that's true. There's got to be data on whether people are spending as much on gifts or not.
I anticipate
they used to.
Wild, far in the future estimation, but.
Well, I can share with you that before there was, when I was a kid, at least in my sensibility, there was a clear. There was like Thanksgiving was Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. It wasn't part of the Christmas season.
Right.
It was entirely separate. And then it was after Thanksgiving. And it still wasn't the Christmas season, right? It was like late November, and then you had early December. And in my mind, it was always like the 7th or 8th of the month where sort of, that thinking about Christmas first kicked in. And why it was then, I don't know. There was a religious feast called the Feast of the Ascension or the Feast of the Virgin. I can't remember. The Feast of Mary, and it's on December 7th or 8th. And we used to go to church, and that's when they would, start to put up the greens and the candles and the Christmas stuff. But before then, it's, maybe you were saving up for Christmas and you knew that, you had so many shopping days until Christmas, but it didn't feel like people were paying as much attention to it.
Yeah.
Black Friday.
I was just saying, look at Black Friday.
Black Friday was not a thing. That didn't exist. I remember people complaining if they heard a Christmas commercial before like December 1st. Can you believe it? Just like Christmas. And now it's like you hear them at Halloween.
Oh yeah. You're hitting the same somewhere. My thought was that Halloween is essentially now the new opening for Christmas.
You mentioned that before, and it is. It's like, okay, now it's part of the holiday season because for many people, it's a holiday they prefer to Thanksgiving.
I don't know.
We have parades. It's a Halloween parade. People get dressed up.
I have a weird relationship with the holidays. I don't know. Maybe I'm more normal than I know, but the recent, this year's conversation has been like these feel awkward and maybe stale. And I think my friends and I are relatively intro and retrospective when it comes to traditions, and we like to spin it up and make it new each time. And
Good.
I think these ones are kind of becoming ripe for the general public as well. Like, there's a lot of people who are really frustrated with the consumerism of Christmas. It is a blitz of money, and you're like,
it's certainly. It seems, it's been a theme people have been complaining about. Really, since before I was born. You can watch.
Really?
What's the one that takes place in New York, and it's the Macy's parade. Oh my God. And the Santa Claus is there, and he's basically an old dude who's suffering from a delusion, but he's not. He's really.
It's a movie?
He's really Santa. Yeah, it was made in the 40s. Miracle on
3rd Street, whatever it is?
34th Street, which is where the store actually is. So, on that movie, and when was that movie? 30s, 40s?
47.
In that movie, there's a whole rant by someone about how Christmas is getting too commercial.
Yeah.
It's the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. At the end of the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, it always ends with Santa. Because it's the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. And it's the Santa Macy's. The Macy's from Santa, and he's saying, "Come on over to Macy's."
Yep.
Start
your Christmas shopping.
That theme's been around for a while. People have been bemoaning it.
Well,
bemoaning it.
Maybe it's just more prevalent to me recently, but I shouldn't say recently. In the last, 5 to 10 years, I feel like maybe the people I don't expect to complain about are the ones that are complaining about it. Maybe that's like the actual digestion that I've made.
If people your age are complaining about it, I think that is an extremely healthy phenomenon.
Yeah,
because that's where it needs to
start. That's
where it needs to die. Yeah, this whole idea. Yeah, I mean, I don't. What do we even get for the kids today? I mean, even that finally. I mean, they're all in there, they're all grown up. Right. So Meg puts together, boxes for them with like socks and books. Yeah. And that's great. Whereas, but that's fairly recent. It used to be even a few years ago, they'd be getting, I don't know, earbuds. I'm like, honey, why is Madeline, who makes more money than I made? Why am I buying?
Why are we getting her AirPods, huh? Where's my AirPods, Madeline? Huh?
No, that's right. I would kill for those. But yeah, that's good. I'm glad that we've moved on from that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's going to be, we've talked about change in the future a lot in these episodes, but I get excited to see, kind of how frustrated, some of the annoyances and technology and pressure from, politics and from society and all that. It feels like the pot's boiling a bit. And I think a lot of changes are incoming and maybe. I hope so. Oh, I certainly hope so as well. But I really think that a lot of the traditions that we've had, the times shaped them as well. They're, the parade started. You told me like with the Steelers, you're a young man working the mill. All you've got is the Pittsburgh Steelers to look forward to, really. Maybe the tree, the turkey, whatever it was, that's what someone needed, the wreath, whatever it is, those things came as pieces of their time. And as new times come about, new things will start to work their way in. I'm just curious. I get excited. I like change and I like shaking it up. Yeah. Well, I'm whatever I can do to
move culture in a positive direction, Keegan. You know that's what I'm all about.
Absolutely. We'll watch Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Oh, that one's all right.
Yeah,
that was good.
No, it's silly, but Bill Murray's.
I like Bill Murray.
Good in pretty much everything he's in, and there's some of the writing is very good. Some of the casting is inspired, but yeah, I don't know if I want them to make new Christmas movies or whether I just need to get over this, this desire to somehow watch Christmas movies at Christmas time and go and do something else. Maybe that's what I should be doing.
I feel like there's not a lot of Christmas movies that speak to me. And to me, that sounds like I want different Christmas movies.
Building a set of Christmas chimes.
There you go.
And placing them. You can place them in the swamp.
Yeah.
In the swamp near your house.
Swamp near my house. Put your hammock up. There you go.
Christmas soundscape. Something like that.
Make like an ambient, 2-hour like YouTube static to fall asleep to, but it's.
No, you can call it the whatever Swamp Chimes experience.
Beautiful. All right.
You could put people on flat bottom scows and pull them through the marshes of Baldwinsville or wherever they are.
Nearby. But on that, we'll get moving. And I appreciate everyone who's still listening. And
all right, I'm gonna go make the salad now.
Ooh, put a little salad on.
A little salad night.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your night. Be well. I love you. I'll see you next time,
buddy. All right. Talk soon.
Later.